right here this morning. I thought the brothers have done such a wonderful job, and couldn't help but sit there and just think to myself that how that I wish that I had the wisdom this morning and the understanding to put it to you in such a way to be able to speak whatever words that need to be spoken this morning, that would, whatever that is hindering you from getting to know this man named Jesus, that I could find the words today that would maybe put your mind at ease, or maybe give you that direction, because there is nothing so special in all my life that I've ever come across than what that God has given me. You know, Brother Elisha, he stood up here and he said that this one and that one kept saying, don't you regret not being a part of something that is going to be special? Aren't you afraid that you missed out? And you can't help but sit there and feel kind of sad for those that say it. Brother Darrell, I got news. He chose the special part.
Yeah.
He chose the one that, those things are great and they're wonderful, but there is something that's called nature, and it's all over this world. And I got news, it's all going to pass away.
Yeah.
That I'm sure that them boys will be rejoicing for a little while.
Yeah.
But I got news, when they lay their head down on their pillow, that little ring, it's not going to be much comfort to their soul. I'm telling you, Brother Joe, that there is something that goes out into this land that's so wonderful. Brother Thomas said it's able to tame the wild man today, that it's able, with just a breath, to be able to be spoken. And it was something so special and so wonderful that would make men and women begin to examine their life and say, I'm willing to change all these things so special and so wonderful, something so real, that men and women, they would be traveling on the road, Mama, and they would come across this thing, whatever they can't even explain it. I couldn't even explain it at the time. But I remember standing in an old country church house, sitting in the back of an old country church in Michigan, and the preachers begin to preach, and I don't even know the words that they were speaking at the time. I don't know the sermons, but whatever it was that was coming out of them, I began to watch it, and I began to see the crowd begin to move, and something, began to come over me so powerful that I said, there's something to that right there. Yeah. And then I walked in, and I began to see men and women, and when I would hug them, I would say to myself, what is it that they have that is so great, because I feel it all over them. And I don't have it in my life, and I need it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's something so wonderful through this land, you know, that there is. And that at one time it was written like this. It said that a man, he come to Jesus by night. And it said he come to him and he said, Master, I know that no one can do all these wonderful things, all these miracles, except God has sent him there. And he said that Jesus looked at him and he said, verily, verily, I say unto you, he said, except a man be born again, he cannot enter into the kingdom of heaven. And Nicodemus, he looked at him and he began to say, well, Jesus, how can it be that I can enter my mother's womb for a second time and be born again? And he looked at him and he said, except a man be born of that water and of spirit. He said, that which is born of the flesh, it is flesh today, and that which is born of the spirit, it is spirit today. I got news, nature is all over us and surrounds us every day. It is pulling us every which way other than God today, but this thing, it's not. The most personal relationship that I've ever had is with a man that I've never seen in this life. The most intimate thing, the most things. I love my wife so much, and I wouldn't withhold nothing from her, but when I'm down on my knees, this man, when I begin to speak to him, I already know that he knows my very intentions. You know, Nicodemus, he was so puzzled by these things, and Jesus looked at him and he said, you know, the wind, it would blow. And where it comes from, you don't even know. He said, but you can feel it and you can see its effect.
Yeah.
He said, I speak to you of the earthly things and you don't even understand it. Well, how would I speak to you of spiritual things today?
Yeah. That's right.
This world, it doesn't understand. It doesn't understand me today. That all the things, I desire a whole lot of things in this life, and I work and I plan and I try to obtain all these things, Mama, all the natural things that I think I'm supposed to get. I try to make sure that I try to plan out for my children what I think would help them down the road, and I would try to plan, maybe I'll build this for them and maybe I'll get that. And I would make all these plans, but when I would come down, when I would get down on my knees at night and when I would get down in their bedside, Mama, that's when the truth comes out, and that's when all the things, the only thing that matters, Brother Joe, all these things, I would leave all the natural things aside and just tell them about this man named Jesus and how important he is, these things. This world is going to cloud your mind. It's going to pull you in every direction but the Lord. But I'm telling you that he is a voice that can be heard through anything today, that he would speak to you and that you could go to him. When I get down and I begin to try to tell my children, I say, girls, if troubles come in your life and you don't know where to go, there is someone. You just call upon the Lord. You just look to him and he'll lead you through. All my family, they tried to tame me. They tried to give me direction, Brother Josh, but guess what? I was too wise to listen to them. Or so I would have said, Papa, that's what I would have thought in my mind. Well, guess what? One began to speak to me, but he had always spoken to me, but there was a change. I began to listen to him, and I began to say, Lord, just direct me a little bit. God, show me which way you would have me to go, and I begin, and I'm going to listen. I'm going to try to follow it. Well, guess what? That voice was the sweetest voice I ever heard. And when I began to submit to it, it was the sweetest thing I ever felt in my life.
Yeah.
That all these great mountains that I had built up in my mind, all these great problems, when I'm talking to the Lord, they seem awful small. When I get right with him, you know that it said that a lawyer, he began to come to him. And he began to ask Jesus, he said, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus told him to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, soul, and strength. And he said there is a second, just like unto that first one. He said to love thy neighbor as thyself. And it says later on that another lawyer, when he heard those things, he began to try to justify himself. And he said, who is my neighbor? Who is it? And he began to tell him a little parable. He said there was a certain man, and he began to travel from Jericho to Jerusalem. And it said that this man, he fell among thieves, and they beat him, and they robbed him. And it said that they left him there for dead. And it said that it so happened that a man, he come by and he looked upon him. And it said that he just kept on walking by. And it said that another man, a priest, I believe, he come walking by and he looked upon him also, and he began to walk on by. But then a Samaritan man, he began to walk by, and it said that he seen him. And he took him and he laid him upon his mule, and he began to take him into a village. And he began to doctor him, and he began to take care of him. And in the morning he gave the innkeeper money. And he said, anything you have to spend more, I'll come back and I'll pay you. Yeah. Just take care of this man's needs. And Jesus looked at him and he said, which one of these three do you think is his neighbor? And he said, I guess that last one. Brethren, there is a great and powerful God out there that is so full of mercy and so full of love that I would stand and I would be in awe of him at times, and I would think, surely, Lord, I deserve nothing of you, but if you were a father like I was, then you should whip me and you should punish me. But no, what do, Lord? You show me love and you show me kindness. I've got a Father that's in heaven that puts me to shame like none other. That would make me feel as small as a little ant in His sight, Papa, because what I found is Him. That when I can't seem to have compassion and mercy, this man,
Still does.
He would still have even more than I would think was compassion and mercy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to know the biggest trick that the devil will ever tell you is that you're not good enough, that God won't hear you. Well, guess what? You're falling right into his trap today. Because I found a God that loves to hear His children, who has an open ear today that's waiting on you. I got news. You're not lost to Him. He knows right where you are. He knows right where the place where you're at. You're the one that's lost from Him a little bit, that you're not looking to Him. He knows where you are. He knows what you stand in need of. You know, a woman was at a well and Jesus found her and He began to talk to her, a Samaritan woman. And she began to ask Him. He began to preach to her a little bit and talk to her about the water. And she began to tell him, isn't this Jacob's well? Is this water that you're offering me, is it better than what? This is Jacob's well here. And he looked at her and he said, this water that I'm offering you, it's going to be like a well that's springing up unto everlasting life today. Yeah. Brother, and I get a little hungry and I get a little thirsty in this world. And I get a little beat up and I get a little worn down. But guess what? All it takes is for me to get in my right mind a little bit, Papa, and say, Lord, I don't know why I waited so long to talk to you. Lord, I don't know why I waited and pushed and thought I could do this one on my own. Every time all I do is get myself in trouble. But what I found is that well, it never runs dry, Mama.
Nope.
And it will never run dry for you today.
No, not at all.
God is the best thing that I've ever found in this world. You know, I worry when I hear things that, like Brother Elisha was talking about, this world that doesn't understand how good that my God is.
Nope.
There is a good part today. Like the brethren have said before me, we will all still have problems. We will all still have troubles. We have things that we need to figure out. But there is a great difference for those that have found the Lord. For those that have salvation. I found a best friend that never leaves my side. He's there as much as I'll let him be. As much as I can keep him close to me, Papa, I find that's as close as he'll be. As much as I let him in my house, that's as much as he'll stay in my house. God, He's not neglecting anything today. He understands just where you're at and what your needs are. And I'm telling you, you look to Him with everything that's in you. You hold on to Him and you seek Him out. Mama, we put it like this. He said, knock and the door, it will be open. Seek and you shall find today. Well, guess what? That's exactly how I found Him. It was a great mystery to me when I was a young sinner boy, saying, how do I find Him? How do I seek Him? I felt like I was walking through the fog, Brother Darrell, just trying to stumble my way to Him. Yeah. Clawing and fighting with everything that's in me. Well, guess what? It was only as hard as I made it. Yeah. Well, guess what? The Lord, He heard every prayer that I had to say. And when I looked back on it, that fog that I thought I was walking through later on in life, I thought, Lord, you were placing stones for me every step of the way to you. You heard every cry that I said to you. You heard every need that I thought I needed and gave me just exactly what I needed to find you. And guess what? That's how I work today. He's got your plan. But it's up to you to call upon it. It's up to you if you're going to seek it today. If you're lost and you don't know Him, God, I got news. You better get hungry today. Yeah. You better get thirsty for a little bit of it. You say, well, I don't know if I can find it. Seek it today and you'll find it, Mama. Yeah. Get a little hungry and and get after it a little bit. And guess what? The Lord is going to do the rest for you. You brothers, come on with your arrangement. today.
Yeah, that's right.
Just a young sinner boy who thought I've done made a mess out of my whole life.
Yeah.
I've really done myself in now this time, Lord. I don't even think you can fix it.
Yeah.
Brother Thomas, he took what I thought was the worst mistakes and the biggest mess I made, and he began to take it and he began to work it. And just a few months later, I would find myself on my back porch crying and saying, Lord, I couldn't have planned my life this good. God, what you've done for me is better than anything that I could even imagine. I'm telling you, I serve a God like that today. And He'll be here for you if you'll let Him. The church doors are open. If you felt like that, you prayed and that the Lord